Hello, hello, peace, everyone. It's that time. It's that time for another interview. It's been a good little while that we have had this break. I was on travels, people got sick, or, mishaps have happened in life. But here we are. It is time to get it going with our 89th interview today, you all. Oh, I can't believe it. Can you believe it? This is interview 89. Hi there. We are going to get started with our guest speaker today. Really excited to have this beautiful queen come to us out of Nebraska. It's just a treat. I always am so just beside myself at the connections that happen. Hi there, Rachel.
We're here.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, I'm going to share, but I'm always thrilled to see the connections that happen just by happenstance. And this is no less than just a unique connection with Rachel out of Nebraska. So I'm going to go ahead and share this over. Give me just a quick moment. I hope you all are having a great day. As you join in, girlfriends, let me know where you are viewing us from, and so we can know where you're homeschooling at. All right, give me a quick moment here. I'm finding that as time goes on, I can't do two things at one time, like talk and do something else. My brain don't work well. All right, let's try this one more time. Is that you playing music or me?
That's me.
Okay.
Well, it's in the background of this room that I'm in. So
Okay. All right, so I shared it's already shared, so let me know when you're ready. Girlfriends, okay. This is going to be a great interview. I'm excited. I won't give anything away. I'm looking forward to everything that Rachel's going to share with us and her homeschooling journey and her successes and triumphs,
there we are.
victories. It's going to be really excited to hear.
All right. Well, it's on my page.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. All right, here we go.
I think I did it right.
All right, well, so we're all set. All right, Rachel, so are you set?
I think so. I've got my coffee. I have the children occupied with somebody else other than me, so I think we're ready to go.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, well, 3, 2, 1. Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. I am turned up for today's interview. Our interviewee is out of Nebraska, homeschooling mom of a nice little crew of kids, all under 11. I think all under 11, at least 4 of them she's homeschooling that's under the age of 11. So let me tell you what this is. If you see this popping up in your Facebook page, this is Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. And I'm your host, Angela Jordan Perry. And this is where we give voice to the homeschooling African diaspora, and those are the marginalized homeschooling community. So we share their successes, their triumphs, their struggles, their words of encouragement to you, their best practices, everything you want to know that will either encourage you to homeschool or encourage you on your homeschooling journey. So I'm really excited. I myself am a homeschooling mom of 8 children now for 18 years. My husband and I, 26 years we celebrate next Wednesday. You know that is it's worth getting up and dancing about because marriage is work all day long. So 26 years next Wednesday, we make our homestead here in the upstate part of the northwestern part of the state of South Carolina, where we are small farmers. And so I serve in the community here in South Carolina as a whole, giving homeschoolers legal right to homeschool in this state. That's part of what I do. But my purpose-driven life is to make a positive impact on thousands of homeschoolers worldwide. And I do that in part right here with Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling and serving the community in South Carolina. So that's just a little bit about me. But let me tell you, we have this precious, beautiful queen here today. So, Rachel, here's the question. Are you ready to make it happen?
I think so. I'm just sharing it to a couple more groups, and then I am ready to answer anything you throw at me.
All right, good deal. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Rachel. This is Rachel Tran. Rachel Tran is a self-employed 11-year homeschooling mother of 4 children. Their ages are 11, 9, 7, and 4. Rachel is a first-generation Haitian and Irish American, and she makes her home in Nebraska with her lovely family. Having recently been remarried to a man who is a first-generation Vietnamese and German American, she and her husband strive to give their children an authentic, multicultural education while remaining true to their ideals. So, Rachel, I have shared just a little bit about you with the girlfriends. So, tell us more about you, Rachel, and how you actually got started in your homeschooling journey.
Okay, well, that listening to you read that bio makes me sound way more awesome and incredible than I am.
You are, girlfriend.
I actually decided to homeschool way before I was married the first time. I am currently married to a friend that we've known each other almost our whole lives. But I decided to homeschool my children with my first husband way before we even got married. Actually, when I was in college, I went to university, Nebraska Wesleyan University, to become a teacher myself. I had taught in various capacities in church and through volunteering, and I decided that after going through a teacher's education, even if I hadn't gone through the teacher's education, that I wanted to homeschool my kids. I felt that I could do the best job for my children. So we decided that before I even had kids. And then just through, I don't know, my first husband and I got married right after college, moved from Nebraska to the West Coast. We separated through very tumultuous circumstances. And I decided that even though that part of my journey was, I thought that I was going to be a single mom, I was still going to homeschool. I was going to figure out how to make it work because I had, at that time, I was pregnant with my fourth. And so I had 3 small children, and I couldn't imagine sending them to the public schools. And so I packed everything up from the West Coast, sold everything that I owned other than what could fit into about 6 suitcases, because I think that's what Southwest Airlines allowed at the time, and moved back to Nebraska because I had family here. And just worked various jobs. I cleaned offices, cleaned homes for a little while, lived with my sister, and honestly, I could not have done it without my family. My family has been supportive in epic proportions. I could never, ever have done it without them. We have a very unique family, and just pretty much have a village mentality. If someone in the family has it, then it's everyone. And they knew my desire to homeschool, even if they didn't necessarily agree with it. They were going to support me with it. So when, like I said, we were my 3 young children and my unborn child and we moved back to Nebraska. And then I had my 4th child and continued cleaning and living with my younger sister, and she supported us. And I really thought that I was going to be a single homeschool mom for the rest of my life, and I was okay with that. But God had a different plan for me, and that was a surprise. God's plans are generally vastly different than what we imagine them to be. And 100% of the time, they're better. So I reconnected with a family friend, and we fell in love, and we decided to get married. We actually got married just this past October. He is a veteran homeschooler himself. Growing up, our moms were best friends. And so I knew that I would have his support also with homeschooling. He actually he likes to tell people that he dropped out of high school at 16, but really he finished with high school and went to college at 16. And then he is also a veteran from the Army, and he went to law school, and he's now an attorney. and he supports our homeschooling also. So
Beautiful.
that's where we are in our homeschooling journey. And I, that period of our life, that 5, 6 year period of I don't know, some people would look at it and say it was very much a valley, a shadow, going through that relationship and not knowing and literally living day to day, sometimes not knowing where the next meal was going to come from, sometimes not knowing for sure what was going to happen, what that was going to look like, but never once did I ever consider putting my children into school. That never even entered my mind. Um, so our homeschooling journey looked probably a lot different than what most people would think, but it was never an option putting my kids in school.
Wow. So what is your why? I mean, what made you so determined? You said you went through school and you're preparing to become a teacher yourself, and then you thought, no, I want to homeschool. So what ended up being your why? Your why for homeschooling? Why are you going to get this done no matter what? Single, working, I'm going to homeschool. School is not an option.
Um, that's a complicated question. So the why my initial reason was my first husband and I had both experienced all three types of school, three types meaning we were homeschooled for part of our education, and we were both in private parochial homeschool for a little while, and also in the public system. Um, my first husband had a very rough childhood and a very rough time in the public school system, and that was the reason that we made that decision. Was, if it was that bad, we just are going to keep the kids home. And then after leaving that marriage and continuing on with my life journey, my why became, God has blessed me with these children. My entire life, I wanted to be a mother. Part of my name actually means motherly. And I thought, why would I give my children to total strangers for 7 to 9 hours a day to educate and to essentially to raise them, when I could do it at home? I don't want to speak ill about any different type of schooling, but this is a homeschooling broadcast. And so for me and my family and my children, I felt that I could support them the way that they needed to be supported. Like I mentioned, my first husband had a very rough childhood, and he came from a family that had a lot of anger problems. And I was bound and determined. My oldest is a boy, is my son, and I was bound and determined that he was not going to have those same issues. Not that, again, it's the whole gender stereotype thing. Girls can be angry too. But I wanted to help him learn how to deal with his anger in positive ways from the very beginning.
Yeah.
In a way that, because we know and are learning more and more about how anger affects our life quality, our lifespan, how that amount of constant stress can affect our ability to learn, our ability to be productive in society. So I wanted to give him the best journey, and all of my kids the best journey possible. And I felt that there was a reason that God gave me these specific children at this specific time. So
yes,
that's a long answer to your question.
No,
I'm very sorry.
Excellent answer, and it makes sense, and I follow you completely. So let me ask you, so when you actually got into the thick of it and you started homeschooling, what was your journey like when you first got started?
When I first got started, it looked like a lot of reading. When I just had my two oldest and my third was a baby on my back, we lived in a small town, and so it looked like a lot of reading. We would take little carry-on size suitcases to the library once or twice, sometimes 3 times a week, and fill them up with books, as many as they could possibly carry. In fact, I wish I could share a picture with you. One of my favorite pictures is my oldest two kiddos with these suitcases dragging them, and they were full of books. And Probably looking back on it, it was because we were in such a small town. There was nothing to do other than read. But that was part of it, was a lot of reading. Just we would read and read and read and read and read every kind of books. Um, and then lots of audiobooks for my oldest. I know now is dyslexic. I didn't know then. But he would sit even at the age of 3 and 4 and listen to hours of audiobooks. Just love them. And sometimes even things that weren't audiobooks, I would put radio shows on for him. Or I would do things like play PBS shows but not show the screen, and so he would listen to them. So he would say things like Wild Kratts stories. He didn't actually know that Wild Kratts was a TV show for a long time. He thought it was a story.
Wow.
So that's what it looked like. And lots of play, lots of sensory experiences. I'm a huge proponent of play. Play is so important for all ages, but especially for young kids. And I think that it's often underappreciated. I think that people don't realize how much children learn from play. One of my personal heroes is Fred Rogers, and he says, play is the work of children. That's what they're supposed to be doing. They're learning, and they're learning so much.
Yes.
So that's what our early years look like.
Do you feel like your background in going to college and education helped you with this ideology of, the type of schooling you actually started at home, or was it just inborn in your heart, or it wasn't a help at all? No help from but your background. Tell us, did it aid or not assist in your schooling?
I think that it validated it. I think that I'm a very instinctual person. And I never, ever once have regretted following my instinct. But I always regret when I don't follow it. God gives us that instinct for a reason. And so, I grew up around lots of kids, teaching and taking care of them. And so I've always known that type of thing was important. But then through my education, I learned the vocabulary and the verbiage and the philosophies behind all of that. So it really just validated my instincts. I knew that was the way that needed to happen, and I knew that it would naturally flow. But my personal education and my other education just gave me more credibility, I guess.
Gotcha.
In my own brain, and then also to other people.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, that's one of my favorite questions. I always like to ask that question. So here, I want to go to my next favorite question, which is my number one favorite question. Take us to your worst day of homeschooling, Rachel.
Oh boy.
The day where it was just like, I'm ready to be done. I mean, granted, you homeschooled through a very, very tumultuous time of your life, and you were still committed to, homeschooling, and you did it. But was there a day where you were just like, I'm done, I can't do this? And the thought of putting your kids in public school was there, but of course you didn't. And this is why you're this, amazing homeschooling mom that you are today, homeschooling for. Take us to that day or that moment.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay. I don't know that it would necessarily have anything to do with homeschooling, or that I could pick a specific day, but probably the last few weeks that I was in over on the West Coast was really rough. We were living penny to penny, literally, and there were days when I didn't know where the next meal was going to come from. I was hoping that there would be a food pantry open, or there would be something. And those were hard days. Those were hard. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Probably I have had people ask me, even family members, say, are you sure that you want to do this? Do you think that, do you really think that you can educate them? Why would you want to keep them with you? They need to go to school. They need to be socialized. They need to interact with people. So I don't know that I can pick one specific day, but that time period was hard. That time period of, and at that time also, I didn't have a vehicle. Um, and so we couldn't do things like go to the library and get books. We couldn't do, I only had whatever resources I could walk to. Um, so that time period was hard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just want to commend you and just say I'm grateful that, well, I say this. I know walking through something like that and having children and being on your own could cause someone, one, to lose their mind, two, to just be in a very, very dark, place. And so I commend you for, hanging in there and making it and making it. I just say that.
No.
I just applaud you for making it, Rachel. Um, and doing so, and now you're here, and on the other side of that, and just seeing what now the Lord has in store for you in your place of life now. So I'm very happy for you, and I rejoice with you in this transition. I can't
Well,
imagine.
thank you.
I cannot imagine, but kudos to you. You're still this amazing homeschooling mom. So take us to the moment where you can think of where this is why you homeschool. I mean, just thinking about it may bring you to tears. And you said, this right here is why I do what I do. And I'm so grateful I stuck it out. Tell us about that time, Rachel.
Um, okay, well, I have a lot of moments like that. But my most recent one, and it's going to be the one that is most vivid in my mind, probably because God knew I needed it.
Mm.
The other day we were at the zoo, and sometimes I do question my ability to teach my oldest, but he's the one that is profoundly dyslexic, and I wonder and one of the things about dyslexia is that they have a short working memory, so you are reteaching them over and over and over again.
Okay.
And we were watching this live animal thing, and the animal exposition person asked a question, and I didn't know that my children were paying attention ever. I don't have any idea where he learned this from. But the question was something about this animal's tail, and my son raised his hand and answered the answer to the question was prehensile, and I had to look it up on my phone. I don't know what it means. It's something to do with not opposable thumbs, and these animals can hang on and use their other limbs as thumbs. And anyways, and at that moment, I was very proud of him.
Mm.
That's a very academic thing. I've been more proud of things that because of their character that I've seen. But at that moment, I was like, yes, they're learning. He especially is learning, even despite my ineptitudes. He is learning. They are all learning. Um, Sometimes just because of me focusing on enriching their environment.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful, beautiful. Take us. This is just a question because I'm curious. Tell the girlfriends, what has it been like to have your son who is severely dyslexic, and homeschooling him? What has that journey been like for you, Rachel? What insights or encouragements or just little nuggets of wisdom you can give to a mom who might be in the same situation?
um, it first of all, it looks like having a lot of faith, and not, and I'm not talking about a religious faith here. I'm talking about having faith in yourself as an educator and a parent, and faith in your child,
Mm.
and knowing that they will figure it out.
Mm.
It's gonna always look completely different than everybody else's, um, but yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like faith, and it looks like continuing to learn, and just figuring out different ways to do things, different ways of how their brain works. Sometimes I think that I'm dyslexic with as much as I forget things. I'm not, but for him and it's been frustrating sometimes. I've had a very dear friend of mine that offered to tutor him in reading, and she did a phenomenal job, and
Mm.
she had much more patience than I did. And he learned a lot through that. But after that process, it we had to continue and basically reteach everything just in a different way. And it's continuing to do that, again, because of that short working memory. I recently picked up a book called The Dyslexic Advantage. Um, and it actually focuses on the positives instead of looking at dyslexia as a learning disability and disorder. It actually reframes it, and I think it is very important to kind of change that paradigm in your mind of, oh, there's something wrong with my kid. He's always going to have these struggles. It and really there will be struggles, but there's going to be struggles with anything in life. It's not just going to be this his or her reading or math or whatever. There's always going to be struggles, and you're going to have struggles with your other kids too. So I think that if you can change your just reframe how you view dyslexia in your mind, and instead of thinking it as a disadvantage, think of it as, look, his or her synapses just go a different way. Their brain works differently. And this book is really opening my eyes, and as far as the positives, it is an advantage in some sense. It's not necessarily a disability.
That is a great way to think about it. Very good. Thanks for sharing that insight. Girlfriends, you are viewing Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling with Angela Jordan Perry, and I have Rachel Tran on here today from Nebraska. She is a homeschooling mom of 4 children and just sharing her journey and her nuggets so very sweetly and very profoundly. So you all be sure to hit the share button. You just never know who needs to hear this interview from Rachel, who will draw encouragement for their journey or encouragement for, I can do this. Just hearing Rachel's story and how she has, overcome and where she is now, her perseverance may be just what they need to hear. So hit the share button, which is down below. Hit share it. Let this get out to reach those who need to hear. So Rachel, this is the part of our show where these are going to be questions to pick your brain. You can give us quick answers here. So the first question is, what is your favorite quote that helps you through this homeschooling journey?
You said quick questions, so I decided I better have a drink of coffee first.
Okay.
My current favorite quote is actually from a Buddhist monk. He currently lives in South France, I just learned. But the quote is, smile, breathe, go slowly. And that I would really like to sum up my life. I need to remember to smile sometimes. I'm too serious. And I strongly believe that that's one of the reasons that God gave me the husband that he gave me. There is not a single day that I don't wake up without a smile on my face. There's not a single day that goes by that he doesn't make me laugh multiple times. Smiling is important. So
yes, I agree. That's beautiful. I'm going to have to adopt that and remember that quote myself. Do you plan to homeschool your kids all the way through to the end of their schooling journey?
I do.
Yeah. What is something that's unique that the Tran family do in their homeschool that, you're like, this is what we do. This is maybe a ritual or something that you all do day to day that's unique?
That we do day to day. Besides running around a lot, because they're young and they run a lot, we like to celebrate wacky holidays. I decided that we were going to do that a couple years ago. So there's a list online that you can find of wacky holidays in the U.S. and things like National Donut Day or National Hot Dog Day. So when we do that, we go all out, and when on National Donut Day, we go to every single donut shop we can find and things like that.
Wow, that's neat. Okay, wacky holidays. Okay, you all got to look that up. Tell us your a curriculum or a favorite book or something that's on your home library that has aided you in your homeschooling. You feel like everyone needs to know about this resource.
Oh, Well, the curriculum that we're mostly using right now is a classical curriculum. Um, and I actually started with classical education by reading The Well-Trained Mind by Susan Weisbauer. And I thought for sure I was going to follow that. And then I went through that time period of my life where we literally looked like Lord of the Flies. And now we're kind of back. We are part of a classical co-op. And so I would actually strongly recommend that book to anybody, even if they don't resonate with classical education. That book really kind of gives a framework, and it explains how the different stages of learning and how children's brains work. And that book is actually meant more as a guidebook. It's because a lot of people will get it and they'll see it and it's about 4 inches thick and they'll say, I'm not going to read that. Well, think of it more as just a guidebook. It's not a novel you're supposed to read cover to cover. So I would strongly recommend that book actually to anybody, even the most avid, staunch, radical unschooler, because that's just where I came from. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
So you said you were unschooler and now you have moved to classical. Is that kind of what you're?
Well, so I started out with the classical mindset. I like I said, I read that book before several times before I had children, and I was dead set on it, on classical education and teaching from the trivium. I really am a strong believer in, look, this has worked for a long time. There must be a reason. And that whole idea of teaching from the trivium and teaching at different stages really works with how children's brains develop.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to do. And I started out with that. And then my life went in a completely different direction. And there was not a way that I was going to make that work in my brain. So then I also read some things by John Holt, who is kind of who people decided that unschooling is attributed to. And those resonated with me also. Just the idea of, look, life is education. All you need to do is be the guide and enrich your children's environment and start to recognize where they're learning and lay things out for them to pull from and things like that. And so during that time period of my life that was really crazy, I allowed myself to settle in and just have faith with that idea of, look, they're okay, they're learning, so it wasn't as structured. It was definitely more unschooling. And I 4 years ago I came across a homeschooling co-op called Classical Conversations. And so that was kind of our gentle guide back to a more structured lifestyle. So I would say that we're pretty evenly balanced. And I think that staying in the middle is a good road.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good. What is the best piece of advice, Rachel, that you have received since you've been on this homeschooling journey, these 11 years?
Relax. Just to relax, and that they'll learn what they need to learn. A lot of times I think we have a lot of fear. And so I've had somebody say, you don't be afraid. It's going to happen. That and read. That's always the best piece of advice that I give out and that people say all the time. Read. Read to your children all the time.
Okay. Is there an online resource or a tool or app that you can suggest to the girlfriends?
Ooh. I don't necessarily have one specifically. One of my favorites that I like to go to is actually Easy Peasy Homeschool. We don't necessarily follow that website or use it as our curriculum, but I do use it as a resource on days when maybe my kids need something to do or I want to get an idea on where they would be grade level, that type of thing. And I believe that's allinonehomeschooling.com.
Okay. Okay. Allinonehomeschooling.com. Okay, that's a very popular. That's very popular resource, girlfriends. Easy peasy. So check it out. So here's the last question, Rachel, the $1 million question. Are you ready?
We'll see.
Okay. So Rachel, if you had to start all over again, back to day number 1, But you have your current wisdom, knowledge, skills, experiences. What would be the first thing you'd be sure to implement in your homeschool this time around? Or what would be the first thing you'd be sure not to implement and make sure it's not a part of your homeschooling journey this second time around?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's a hard one. Um, I would make sure that we implemented a regular reading time. I know I've said that reading is important, but I will say that it is one of those things that unless you have it as a habit, you don't. It's very easy to go away. We're like I said, my kids and I are getting back into a regular rhythm in life, and things are a little bit more stable. And so we went through a time period where we didn't read a whole lot. And so one of the things that I would implement from the very beginning would be just silent reading time.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily reading out loud, obviously, is very important, but just time to sit and be with books on a regular basis as part of your daily rhythm, so that you were sure to do it every day, even if you got nothing else done in that day. As long as you had an hour chunk of time in your day set aside for, hey, this is our reading time.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would be sure not to do this time around?
Um, Other than worry, no. No. Other than worry, no.
No worries. Very good. Well, thank you. Thank you, Rachel. This is really good. So, any last words of advice you want to share with the girlfriends? Let us know what you have your hands involved in that you would like to, us to join around you as a village. And how can they reach out to you if they have more questions? They want to know, continue this conversation with you.
Um, well, things that I would say to do, it's interesting that you say village. Village is very much in my mentality. Um, I'm an extrovert, and so I like to have lots of people around me all the time. I like to build communities. When we first got back from the West Coast, I started a homeschooling co-op for my kids based off of play, and it's been going for the last 5 years.
Wow.
I would say to people, build your village because you can't do it alone.
Hmm.
Even if you're an introvert, you still need people. We are created to be in communion with everyone. So you don't have to have people around you all the time, but you need your people, you need your village, you need your tribe. Um, so I would say figure out how to either become part of one, or if you can't become part of one, create one. Because if you're lonely, other people around you are lonely too.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I
So I would
agree.
say do that.
How can they?
And then
Go ahead. Hmm.
if people want to connect with me, they're welcome to find me on Facebook. I'm pretty sure I say yes to just about every single friend request that comes my way. I am a baby wearing educator and lactation volunteer with a couple different national organizations. So I meet a lot of people, and I have a horrible memory. So I just say yes because I assume it's somebody that I've met in real life. So, but I love sharing and I love teaching and I love talking with people. Um, so they're welcome to just send me a Facebook request and come over Messenger. Otherwise, that I don't have a blog or anything like that. I do have a page for my doula business where I do some early parenting education and that kind of stuff, but nothing in the homeschool world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you. You all get some hearts. Give her some hearts. Give her some loves. Thumbs up. Very good, good. Let her know you appreciate this interview with Rachel. So, Rachel, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to share your journey and your triumphs and your struggles and your victory. I rejoice with you and your victory of homeschooling, all even through the hard times. So, way to go, Rachel. I'm glad to see you on this side of it. And you all be sure to go over to the Facebook page, Girlfriends Guide to Homeschooling with Angela Jordan Perry. Be sure to go and like and follow. Share it with a friend. And like Rachel said, it's huge to be a part of. I like to say a sister circle as well. Get connected with a sister circle, build your village, and like Rachel said as well, if it does not exist, make it happen. Because you need that encouragement to root you onward in your desire to homeschool your children. So, Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling, Rachel, I'm grateful to you and appreciate you for sharing your insights, your wisdom with this community, and just giving them, I guess, the encouragement to know that they can do it. And if they stick to it through all the whatever, it is possible and they can do it. So thank you again, Rachel. I appreciate you. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. No problem. My delight. Well, girlfriends, it's your turn. And you all remember that to, remember to teach a child is to touch a life. And as we homeschool, we not only touch a life, we shape the future through our efforts, of homeschooling. So keep making that positive impact day after day, year after year. It's going to pay off. And, take advice from Rachel. We need to smile. We need to breathe. And we need to, go slowly. That's her quote. I love it. Smile, breathe, and go slowly. So you all enjoy this journey. Connect with the resources on the Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling page. Connect with Rachel if you have more questions and want some more insights and suggestions and resources from her. So until our next time, look for her podcast interview. We're going to dig in deeper on one of these specific points that she made that it should be coming out soon. But other than that, thank you for joining me, and I'm glad to have this time with you all. So you all take care, girlfriends. Until our next interview. Bye-bye now. Peace to you all.
Bye-bye.